What if the show that made you laugh every week was secretly hiding stories darker, sadder, and more unbelievable than anything its writers ever put on screen? 2.5 Men was that rare kind of comedy that felt effortless. A slobby bachelor, his neurotic brother, and a kid caught in the middle, all crammed into a Malibu beach house where chaos was always just one bad decision away. It ran for 12 seasons, pulled in millions of viewers, and launched careers that went in directions nobody could have predicted. But here's the thing, not everyone on this list made it. And one person walked away from Hollywood so completely, so deliberately, that you'll wonder if they were ever really in it at all. Stay with us. Number 1, we have Charlie Sheen, as Charlie Harper. And before we say his name, know this. In 2015, he stepped in front of cameras not to promote a project, but to share a diagnosis that changed everything. Charlie was 38 when 2.5 Men premiered in 2003, and is now 60. He played the ultimate womanizing bachelor, someone who made self-destruction look charming. Off-screen, the charm eventually cracked. His 2011 firing, after a very public war with creator Chuck Lorre, remains one of the messiest exits in television history. In 2015, he publicly disclosed that he is HIV positive. More recently, while promoting a memoir, he revealed past sexual encounters with men, 60 years old, and his story is still being written in real time. Number 2, we have Holland Taylor as Evelyn Harper. And this one is about a woman who found love later in life and made it look like the most natural thing in the world. Holland was 60 when the series started and is now a remarkable 83. She played Evelyn, the cutting, narcissistic mother nobody wanted but everyone found hilarious. Since 2015, she's been in a relationship with actress Sarah Paulson, who is 32 years younger. 4 Emmy nominations, 0 scandals, and a love story that Hollywood itself couldn't have scripted better. Number 3, we have Jon Cryer as Alan Harper. And if you think you know Jon Cryer, you probably only know half the story. He was 38 at the start and is currently 60. Alan's desperate freeloading routine was comedy perfection, and Jon played it with such commitment you sometimes forgot he was acting. Behind the scenes, he was quietly surviving one of the most chaotic professional situations in television history. He later wrote a memoir called So That Happened, detailing how Charlie Sheen's meltdown nearly destroyed the show, their friendship, and his own sense of stability all at once. That book is calmer than the reality ever was. Number 4, we have Angus T. Jones as Jake Harper, and this is the one. This is the story that once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. He was just 9 years old when the show premiered. 9. He grew up on that screen, in front of millions of viewers, and by the time he was a teenager, something had shifted. In 2012, he released a viral video calling the show filth and urging people to stop watching, following a religious awakening that reshaped his entire worldview. He eventually left the main cast, returned for the 2015 finale to make peace with his past, and then stepped back from Hollywood, almost entirely. He is now 32 years old. Think about that. The little kid who made you laugh in 2003 is now a grown man who consciously chose a quieter life, and somehow that feels more powerful than any Emmy win. If this story hit you a certain way, drop a comment below. We'd love to know which cast member surprised you most. Number 5, we have Conchata Ferrell as Berta, and this one asks you to sit with it for a moment. She was 60 when the show began. She was still working, still earning the warmth of every audience she ever stood in front of, still adding layers to a character who could have been one note but never was. Berta's sharp tongue and fierce loyalty made her the emotional anchor of that beach house, and Conchata brought every ounce of that to life across 12 seasons. She was 77, still beloved, still remembered, when she died in October 2020 from cardiac arrest. Her castmates didn't issue statements, they poured out grief. Because she wasn't just a colleague, she was, by every account, exactly what Berta was on screen, the heart of the room. Some people leave behind a legacy. Conchata left behind a feeling. Number 6, we have Melanie Lynskey as Rose, and she turned a stalker joke into a career-defining statement. Born in 1977, Melanie was 26 when the show began and is now 48. Rose was absurd on purpose, obsessive, unpredictable. Somehow always one step ahead of Charlie and Melanie, played her with a deadpan brilliance that made the character legendary. Off-screen, she became one of Hollywood's most vocal advocates for body positivity, calling out an industry that once measured worth in dress sizes. She's married to actor Jason Ritter, they have a daughter together, and she has never stopped pushing back against the toxic beauty standards that plagued her early career. She turned the frustration into fuel, and the fuel into something that actually mattered. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one. We drop new ones every 2 days. Number 7, we have Ashton Kutcher as Walden Schmidt. And yes, the charm is still there, but the headlines got complicated. He was 33 when he joined the show in 2011 and is currently 48. Walden arrived after the Charlie Sheen implosion and somehow steadied the ship. Ashton was still married to Demi Moore during his early seasons, a divorce that came in 2013. He's now married to Mila Kunis, his former That 70s Show co-star. But in recent years, 2 things resurfaced publicly: a character reference he wrote for convicted rapist Danny Masterson, and old ties to Sean Combs that have come under renewed scrutiny. The smile that charmed a generation is still there. The conversation around it is harder now. Number 8, we have Maren Hinkle as Judith Harper. And sometimes the most interesting chapters start with an ending. She was 37 when filming began and is now 59. Judith's bitter ex-wife routine gave the show endless ammunition, and Maren wielded it with precise comic timing. In 2023, after 25 years of marriage to Randall Summer, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences settled privately in March 2024. But that is not the full picture of who Maren Hinkle became after 2.5 Men. She earned 2 Emmy nominations for her work as Rose Weissman in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Dramatic, layered, heartbreaking, and proved to anyone still paying attention that she was always more than the punchline she'd been handed. Number 9, we have Ryan Stiles as Dr. Herb Melnick, and honestly, his story is the one that makes you exhale. He was 45 when he first appeared in 2004 and is now 66. Herb's helpless marriage to Judith was good for consistent laughs, and Ryan played the haplessness with a warmth that made the character impossible to dislike. Off-screen, he has been married to Patricia McDonald since 1981. That's over 4 decades, and they have 3 children together. He lives on a large farm in Washington state and largely avoids the Hollywood social scene. No scandals, no drama, just a man who found what mattered early and never let go of it. In a cast full of turbulence, that might be the most remarkable story of all. Number 10, we have Courtney Thorne-Smith as Lindsay McElroy, joining the cast in 2010 at 42 and now 58. Lindsay's relationship with Alan brought a new kind of chaos to the later seasons, and Courtney grounded it with a warmth the character could have easily lacked. Early in her career, she spoke openly about the pressure to be thin, admitting she once over-exercised and underate to survive Hollywood's expectations. She's been married to marketing executive Roger Fishman since 2007, and they've built a deliberately private life. She turned her own painful chapter into advocacy for healthy living and never looked back. Number 11, we have Martin Mull as Russell. And he was one of those people who just seemed like he would always be around, sharp, dry, impossible to rattle. Born in 1943, he was 65 when he first appeared. A legendary comedian with a painter's eye and an improv comedian's instincts. His scenes with Holland Taylor crackled. He was married to Wendy Haas from 1982, and as recently as 2023, there were still things ahead of him. Projects, performances, mornings on a canvas. On the 27th of June, 2024, Martin Mull passed away at 80 after what his daughter Maggie called a valiant fight against a long illness. He died at home. He left behind an incredible legacy, and the world got noticeably quieter. Number 12, we have Jane Lynch as Dr. Linda Freeman, and she turned Charlie and Alan's therapy sessions into some of the sharpest comedy the show ever produced. She was 43 when she first appeared in 2004 and has since turned 65. Jane was married to Laura Embry from 2010 to 2014, and in 2021, married partner Jennifer Chaney. She's been a vocal LGBTQ advocate throughout her career and earned a Primetime Emmy nomination for her dry, perfectly calibrated work as the brothers' long-suffering therapist. 0 scandals. Enormous legacy. If you're watching this with someone who grew up watching 2.5 Men, share it. There's a lot here they probably never knew. Number 13, we have Graham Patrick Martin as Eldridge McElroy, and he stepped into the show at just 18 inches, 2010, now 34, and deliberately private. Eldridge's friendship with Jake gave the later seasons a youthful energy that kept things from feeling too stale. Graham went on to a breakout dramatic role as gay teen Rusty Beck in Major Crimes, a performance that earned him real critical attention. Since then, public speculation about his own sexuality has followed him, and he has largely chosen not to address it, a boundary he's held quietly but consistently. Some people protect their private life like a gift. Graham seems to understand that better than most. Number 14, we have Amber Tamblyn as Jenny Harper, joining the final season at 30 inches 2013 and currently 42. Jenny's arrival as Charlie's lesbian daughter shook up everything the show thought it knew about itself. Off-screen, Amber became one of the most prominent voices of the Me Too movement, and in 2017, she ignited a national conversation by accusing James Woods of attempting to pick her up when she was just 16. Woods denied the allegations completely. She has been married to comedian David Cross, 19 years her senior, since 2012, and they have one daughter. She arrived on 2.5 Men as a supporting character and left Hollywood as something much harder to ignore. Number 15, we have Carl Reiner as Marty Pepper, and he was already 87 when he first appeared in 2009. 87. And still sharp, still funny, still making every scene better just by standing in it. He was married to Estelle Liebost from 1943 until her death in 2008. 5 years together, a number that doesn't feel real until you say it out loud. A comedy legend, a prolific creator, a daily presence on Twitter until the very end. Carl Reiner lived 98 extraordinary years before passing in June 2020. He posted the night before he died. Some people don't wind down, they just stop, still going. Number 16, we have April Bowlby as Kandi, and she was just 25 when she first appeared in 2005, now 45. Kandi's ditzy, sweetly oblivious presence made her an instant fan favorite, and April played the character with a comedic precision that made the jokes land harder than they had any right to. What surprised everyone came later. She went on to play Rita Farr in the critically acclaimed DC series Doom Patrol, a role so dramatically layered, so emotionally complex, that audiences who only knew her from 2.5 Men did an actual double take. She married filmmaker Kim Dunham in 2020, and they welcomed a child in 2022. The ditzy blonde grew up, and it turned out she was never just that to begin with. Number 17, we have Robert Wagner as Teddy Leopold. And at 77 when he first appeared in 2007, he brought something the show rarely had, old Hollywood gravity. He's now an astonishing 96. Teddy's romance with Evelyn felt like it belonged in a different era, and Robert Wagner made it feel earned. He has been married to actress Jill Street John since 1990. But in 2018, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department officially named him a person of interest in the 1981 drowning death of his wife, Natalie Wood, after witnesses reported hearing a fierce argument before she disappeared. A career spanning decades, a cloud that never fully lifted. At 96, he remains one of the most complicated figures on this entire list. Number 18, we have Jennifer Taylor as Chelsea, and she may be the most quietly resilient person in this entire cast. She was 31 when the show premiered, playing minor roles, became Chelsea at 36 inches 2008, and is now 53. Chelsea's engagement to Charlie gave the show some of its most emotionally interesting storytelling, and Jennifer played the hope in that relationship with a sincerity that made the inevitable crash hurt. She actually played 4 different characters on the show before landing Chelsea. Off-screen, she's been married to Paul Taylor since 1997. They have 2 children, and there is not a single tabloid story attached to her name. She nearly quit acting and moved back to Florida, right before getting the role that changed her career. One decision. That is all that stood between the version of her story we know and one we never would have heard at all. That little kid who called the show filth at 13 years old, he's 32 now, and he's been at peace with his choice longer than most people have been alive.